good evening, viewers. A very good evening to you once again. You are listening to Jafric Radio. You can get us on every social media platform. Today, we bring you another edition of Africa Today.
This is Jafric Radio.
We always come to you at the very last Sunday of every month. And we have decided to discuss with you issues that pertain to Africa and issues that will help Africa develop. Africa is one. It is one Africa, though different nations, but one Africa. How can Africa develop? And for that matter, Africa Today brings you issues, striving issues that we can discuss to bring Africa on the globe. We bring people, guests that are very committed and well developed in issues. And then we discuss issues that pertain to Africa. Today, we are looking at a very exciting topic. I want you to be glued to your dial, Jafric Radio, and you will never regret. This is Jafric Radio. We have started 1 month free promotion for all Africa businesses. All Africa businesses. So if you're a businessman, a businesswoman, just call in to Jafric Radio and we give you a 1 month free promotion, an advertisement of your business. You can't do without us. You have to just dial into Jafric Radio and we are here to serve you. There are people that have brought the advertisement. Zoe Cakes and Pastries is calling you. She is into bakeries and she is located at Yokohama. You can get her on 080-1146-4399. And you can also get her on 090-99-780594. You would want to call Zoe Cakes and Pastries and she will serve your needs for all bakery issues and pastries. Today we have very, very well-depth, knowledgeable people who will join me here on the studio and another on VMix, and they will help me discuss the issues. Today the issue at hand is the educational system in Africa. The educational system in Africa. You and I will know that Africa has gone through series of educational policies that will help develop our mental capacity and our human resource. We know that Africa cannot develop unless we bring out educational policies that are structured towards the development of our mental capacity and the mental capacity of the student. And for that matter, we have singled out the educational system in Africa. We will look at a bit of the Francophone countries and we will look at a bit of the Anglophone countries. And then we will look at the lacks and the dynamics that we find ourselves. And so today I have with me Arnold Toama. Arnold Toama is a PhD student with the University for Policy Study, National Graduate University for Policy Study. He has joined me here. Mr. Toama, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. William.
I hope everything is well.
Yeah, everything is well, especially when it comes to talking about Africa.
Well, thank you. The studio is too hot and we would enjoy our program. We will also be joined by Dr. Kweku Edu. Dr. Kweku Edu is an expert in global environmental science and he recently graduated from the university where he is contributing enormously to research and knowledge when it comes to global environment and science, climate changes and all that. Dr. Kweku Edu, if you are online, can we hear your voice? Good evening.
Hello, good evening and good morning to those of us who are in
Good evening.
Africa.
and
Great.
Latin America.
Okay. So as it stands now, this is Jafric Radio. You are listening to Jafric Radio. Go to Jafric Radio on all your social media platform and subscribe to Jafric Radio. Mama Vic Saloon is calling you. Mama Vic Saloon is calling you. Mama Vida Saloon, sorry. Mama Vida Saloon is calling you. She is at to that coin, and she is calling you for all your hairstyles. She can meet your needs on Thursdays and on Fridays. If you book her, she can meet you and then give you a better style. Call Mama Vida on 09083011149. Mama Vida, she's ready to meet your needs concerning your hair. Let me get back to our topic today. The educational system in Ghana. Mr. Toama, if you look at Africa, a lot has been said about our educational system. Can you give us a slight overview of the educational system? Let's look at the Francophone country first. And let's look at the educational system. Just give us a slight overview of the educational system in Africa.
Okay. I'll start by talking about the educational system in my country, and this is mostly the same in all Francophone countries in Africa. So we have the preschool, 3 years of preschool, then the primary school, which is 6 years, then the middle school, which is 4 years, and after 4 years there is a middle school diploma that students will get, and then high school, which is 3 years, and then university level, which is tertiary education. I will also mention that at the high school level, there's the general teaching and vocational teaching, but most of the students are in the general teaching, right? Now at the tertiary level, university level, we have private universities and public universities. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is the educational kind of an overview of the educational system. If you want to understand the educational system of the Francophone countries, taking Côte d'Ivoire as the object of talk, then that is the educational system. We have the general one. It is also influenced by a number of private schools and then public schools. Today we will look at the dynamics, how they have all contributed to the educational system in Africa. Great. Dr. Kwekwedu, if you are there, can you give us just an overview? There are people that are listening, they don't even know what the educational system in Africa looks like. Can you give us the educational system, an overview of the educational system when it comes to the Anglophone countries? How does it look like?
Well, thank you very much. I think most people are confused, especially those who are beyond the borders of Africa. Not only confused, they are misinformed about the educational structure we have in our part of the world. Though Africa is not one country, it is a very big continent. And I believe that is actually the biggest continent by land size. Now, if you look at Ghana, if you want to take Ghana for example, and which I believe it, mostly the structure that exists in Ghana mostly exists in most of the African countries, especially the Anglophone. Besides the preschool, Ghana has a 6 years primary school system. And from research, the minimum age that is required to enter a primary school is 7 years. 7 years. Though some, enter at the age of 6, but averagely it has been around 7 years. After your primary school of 6 years, then you move on to what is now termed as the junior high school. Formerly it was the junior secondary school, but now have been modeled after the junior high school system. After your 3 years, with the current education system, after your 3 years, you are not expected to write an exam as was previously known, but rather the exam is written in your second year, whilst your third year is used to prepare you for the senior high school. And within the senior high school system, too, there are various courses that are done. Those who want to go into the pure sciences and natural science, those who want to go into the social sciences, those who want to go into the general art, those who want to go into the business studies, those who want to go into the home economics and so forth, the visual art and so forth. All of them has been categorized in such a way that each and everyone will be able to identify his or her talent within the senior high school system. And that prepares you after that 3 years to enter into any of the tertiary institutions as we have in all part of the world. In the tertiary institutions, as we know, we have that of the polytechnic, we have that of the teacher training. This time we don't have the teacher training colleges. They all of them have been upgraded into a degree awarding institutions. Or if you want to go into other universities where you can learn other courses, I think all courses that are around all over the world are also being around in in Ghana as well. So this is basically how this education system has been structured in Ghana.
Wow, wow, that's a laborious one, of course. And from what you are saying, that means that the educational system is very laborious. It means that from the preschool to somewhere the university takes about 16 to 17 years of schooling. Am I right?
You are right. You are
wow.
right.
Okay. Then let's look at this. Before I will leave your side to Mr. Tuama, Doc, there has been the notion, okay? There has been the notion that the educational system in Africa, a lot of times when you speak to young people, when you speak to investors, when you speak to entrepreneurs, people that must invest in countries like in Africa, you come across a lot of the recruiters that they belabor the point that our educational system has limited students and has limited people to what we call the chew and pour. Largely, what they mean is that if you employ someone, a graduate, to a firm, a company, to deliver a particular assignment, what happens is that what they learned in school are not able to transfer into what should happen on the job. So they complain that our educational system is kind of a chew and pour system, where the educational system only focuses on students remembering terminologies. So that means that they only remember terminologies, but do not give them the kind of ability to think for themselves in order to apply these ideas or what they have learned at the workplace. Doc, I would want you to. This is a very serious stuff that has been raised by a lot of employees. What do you say about this aspect of our educational system? And in the first place, is our educational system focused at chewing and pouring, if I should put it?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Asiedu. I'm very grateful. I think there is some truth somewhere, and there is some.
Okay, we would want to hear both sides. Okay.
The proportion of children completing primary schools across all countries in Africa has risen from 27%, that was in 1971, to 66%, or approximately 67% in 2015.
Wow,
This is a
massive
World Bank
improvement.
document of 2020.
Mm,
That's the most one of the that's the most recent document,
mm,
2020. It has
mm.
increased from 27% to 67% between 2000 and 1971 and then 2015.
Mm.
Now, let us also look at this. The median proportion of children completing lower secondary school, that we're talking about the junior high school,
Okay.
across all countries in Africa, has also increased from a mere 5% in 1971.
Wow.
1971, that's 5%, to 40% in 2015. I'm talking about 6 years ago. It has
Mm.
increased to 40%.
Okay.
Now, as if this is not enough, as if this is not enough,
Mm.
though nearly 1 in 3 children in the median country does not complete primary education, we are aware of that. And
Mm.
3 in 5 also fail to complete the lower secondary. We are aware of that. Though we also know that Africa is the lowest performing region in terms of school access by a significant margin. That's for the primary
Okay.
completion.
The
But
access,
but
is it the access to infrastructure or the access to the education?
We're talking about access to education.
Okay.
We're talking about access to education here. Because, if you read the Brooklyn Institute report of education,
Mm.
you have the comprehensive access to education, or a comprehensive human development. It does not only talk about access.
Mm.
It talks about access.
quality and they talk about relevance. Three
Okay.
different things.
Okay.
Three different things. So we're not only interested in access, we are also interested in the quality, also interested in the relevance. Relevance in the sense that does it apply to our current situation? That is one. Two,
Mm.
does it really solve our problems, the current problems we have? So
Mhm.
education, gone are the days when education was, looked at from accessibility perspective.
Mm.
It is no more like that.
Yeah.
We access education based on access, based on quality and then based on relevance. Now, for the lower secondary,
Okay.
there has been there has been a completion rate of more than 75%
Wow.
in Africa.
Wow.
So, I mean, gone are the days when we have those statistics of 5% being in senior high school, 5% being in junior high school, with about 2% completing in the senior high school. This is no more the trend.
Mm.
Things have changed. What has actually brought all these changes? I am talking about policies that have been enacted by government and successive government and so forth. In a sense that when you go to the primary education, almost all primary education in across all the countries in the continent do have access to primary education. All of
This
that
is
is just
Jafric
free.
Radio.
The junior high school, most of the countries have also made them free, even
Mm.
including the senior high school. Now, if you look at countries that have made the senior high school free, a country like Rwanda, a country like Ghana, and a country like Uganda, all of them have made their senior high school free. There are quite a number of countries that have also made their senior high school free. But the problem now is the quality.
Wow.
And
That is where I want us to belabor, because if we
Very
are
good.
talking about the issues, then we have to show the way. Is it quality? Why is it that people run from Africa to Europe, to Asia to access education? So what is the problem? Is there a problem with the quality?
Good. There is, and fortunately, within on continent of Africa, there are some countries who have made it. Though they made their senior high school free, the quality has also been increased. There are others who also made their senior high school free, but the quality has gone down. Let me give you an example. That of Uganda, which I know very well. If you move to Uganda, all the public senior high schools cannot be compared to that of the private senior high schools in terms of quality. Why? Because teachers who are one of the most instrumentals for any successful implementation of a free school policy were completely left out. Not left out as not being paid or not being given. What I mean is they were not given what was expected of them in terms of materials to teach them. You see, you cannot just make education free and expect the teacher to teach without giving them the necessary tools to teach. Mind you, if the teachers are not involved in the planning and then the implementation of how you want that senior high school system or the junior high school system to be, you cannot achieve your aim. You cannot think for them and tell them to implement what you think. They wouldn't be able to know what and how you want to achieve them. So that is one aspect of it. And let me take you to that of Ghana. I know, most of the teachers unions were
you
involved.
just add one to it for us. Add one because of our
All
time.
right, thank you.
Add one. Okay.
Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. Let me take that of Ghana for example. If you look at, Ghana has made secondary school free. If you look at the number of candidates they presented in the last year's senior high school certificate examination, the West African sub-region, we do have what is called the West African Senior High School Certificate Examination. Nigeria presented more candidates than Ghana, almost like double of what Ghana presented. But when you look at the result that came, the number of students who had all A's in all the 8 subjects in Nigeria was less than 100, was around 70 plus. And if you compare that to the number of students who got all A's in all the 8 subjects in Ghana, which presented about half of what Nigeria presented, was over 450. A significant improvement from the previous year's number of students who got all A's, from the 100 to this time over 400. It is addressing the issue of quality, but my problem is with the issue of relevance.
Wow. Doctor, we will come to the issue of relevance. The relevance of right now, you have given us some stylized facts about the numbers, about the accessibility, and about the quality. I will give you ample time to talk about the relevance. But before that, let me come to Mr. Toama. Do you think that the Africa education has been mostly the chew and pour, as people will call it, the chew and pour kind of education, where people are focused on remembering terminologies without necessarily looking at the content and what those terminologies can be used for? Because I remember one time someone asked our teacher that this esophagus and pancreas, part of the frog, part of the human body we are learning, what will we use it for? Are we just to remember? So what do you make of these?
Okay, thank you. Before I answer this question, I wanted to say that in my country there's no official minimum age to go to school. So parents these days are sending the children to school like from 5 years old, sometimes even 4 years old, primary school. Okay, now coming back to your question, the education system in Africa right now has to change, because we have noticed that there are so many things that we are doing that are not really relevant I'll give you a simple example. Some students, like students in economics, back home in Africa, they'll be taught concepts. They'll chew the concepts and understand. But what they'll be doing with these concepts sometimes, they are not taught. Like they are not taught how to use the software packages. The interpretation comes after estimating, right? For example. Okay. But they are not taught how to use the software packages.
So it's
only what they know. What they know is the concept. It's more theoretical. Yeah. So you take such a student who graduated, who knows all the concepts. You take him to a lab, then he's given a computer now to do all these things on a laptop. He doesn't know how to do it. That's so what the employer will think about this student is not qualified. But actually, the problem is not that he is not qualified. He was not taught how to do it. But when you take the education, you take universities in Europe or in Asia, it's like 50%, 50%. You'll be taught the concepts, But you'll also have sessions in the lab where you'll be taught how to use the software packages so that you understand the concept, you know the theory, but you also know how to apply it.
That is an important part, Mr. Torama. But are we saying that because
This
if
is
you look
Jafric
at
Radio.
this, lecturers that lecture in Africa, most of them had their education outside Africa. So if you look at a country like Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Congo, most of the lecturers are exposed to the education outside. So why is it that they are not able to in a way bring what they studied back to their country? So what's the lack? What's the problem?
Okay. One of the problems is the environment. It's totally different. The environment and the infrastructure. You know, in some African universities, like you have one lecturer for, 2,000 students.
Oh.
There's no computer lab. So even if you want to do it, where can you do it? So there's no computer lab. How can you teach your students? If you are in science and there's no laboratory for you to do experiments and all these things, how can you do that? So it's true that we talk about that lecturers are exposed to the type of teaching in the advanced world, but when they come back home, they have the same infrastructure, the same material to deliver knowledge how they wanted or how they were supposed to. This is another aspect of the problem.
Wow. Very, very inciting, because when you hear some of these things, sometimes I wonder that lecturers like Dr. Asiedu, who has left Japan, studied so well, gone back to his country, and you go and you realize that this same lecturer is doing what? He's just following the trends, So one, the institutional challenge, the institutional differences is very important. You are listening to Jafric Radio, and you can still follow us. This is Africa Today, and we are talking about the educational system in Africa. Dr. Kweku, if you are around, we were discussing about relevance. We already spoke about the accessibility and then the quality, and you have given us some style fact and figures. Let's look at the relevance of our educational system. Mr. Toama has spoken a lot about the challenges that is creeping us. What is our educational system relevant in today's world? Can we compare it to the standards in other continents?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Asiedu. Mr. Tuama, you did a very good presentation. Thank you. That's a brilliant one. I am much concerned about what you said earlier, the true and poor issue of our education system. It has been structured in such a way that we grab everything into our head and we go and sit down and write the exams and pass and forget the next day. That is one of the reasons why I actually, after having my first degree beyond the borders of Ghana, I decided not to do my master's even in Ghana because I realized that I had more access to industrial attachment during my first degree. When I compare it to other colleagues of mine who were in Ghana when also doing the same sort of program, I realized that no, they were not giving more access to their area of specialization. That is one. So I want to believe that when it comes to relevance, we are lacking behind. We are not doing well at all. Why am I saying this? Look at the numerous challenges and problems we have in our society. We don't have access to electricity when you go to most of our villages. Isn't there anything isn't there anything that can be applied from what we teach in the classroom? Isn't there any way we can domesticate what's being applied, what's being taught in the classroom to solve this numerous challenges we have in our society? If we are not able to use those things to solve our problems, then the relevance aspect of our education is completely missing. Look, I came across a young guy who had used cassava to
Wow.
generate electricity.
Wow. In Africa.
Unbelievably, yes, unbelievably, this young man has not even stepped foot in a senior high school before. He's only a junior high school graduate.
We've got the
He,
potentials, man.
that is what I mean. So, if at the end of the day we are able to produce all these graduates, and all these graduates in one way or the other cannot solve the existing problems in our society, then there is something wrong with the relevance of our society, of our education system. When you go into the universities, it will amaze you. Finally, where I have started teaching in a private university, though it's on a private, on a part-time basis. If you look at the resources available to lecturers, it will amaze you. They are not there. If you look at the
Even
number
at the university level, the private
I am
university
telling
level.
you,
Wow. That's
there are
appalling.
there are a number of researchers who do not, in a whole year, who do not have access to any research grant. So how do you expect such a person to conduct his or her research? You get me?
Yeah.
Now let me move on to this one. What most of the lecturers who studied outside learn. I think one of the challenges we face is that Mr. Thomas rightly said it. The environment are not the same, but it is expected of those of us who studied beyond the borders of Ghana, when we return, to domesticate or localize what we've learned.
Very, very
adapt
important.
a whole new system to solve our problem. I don't really believe in a system where those World Bank, the IMF, the UNESCO and so forth will come and propose to us a solution to our local problems, when we have experts who are equally knowledgeable like them,
Exactly.
who sat in the same classroom with them, who sat in the same research room with them, who sat in the same lab with them, and we even do better than them. We don't expect them because because they are coming from the World Bank, you coming from the IMF. No, this is the time that we sit down.
This is Jeffrey
Think about
Radio.
all those development policies, the educational development policies, and so forth that have given a good result to those who are beyond the borders of Ghana, or those Western world, and then the other part of the world. It is now time for us to sit down ourselves, use these same theories, but not implement it the way they implemented it, because the conditions are not the same. The conditions are different, and then do it in such a way that it will suit our condition. I believe that when we are able to do such things, I am of the strong conviction that we will be able to achieve that of the access, the quality, and then the relevance. If I teach students for example, in climate change issues, and at the end of the day, when they graduate from their first degree, and these kids or this student or this graduate are not able to identify any climate change issues within the society, and then propose something that can solve this climate change issue, then I have failed in the first place. As a lecturer, I have failed. Secondly, as an institution, there is no need for us to exist. Because we produce graduates who cannot solve our problems. We produce graduates who are only interested in working in already well-established institutions. That will not help us. What we need more is to get these graduates onto their feet and solve the current issues that are bothering us.
Wow. These are very revealing facts that our policymakers must pay attention to, because what is the use if lecturers cannot impact? What is the use if there are no logistics to train students so that they will meet the employment standards of recruiters? These are facts that the government, the policymakers should take notice of and then run with them. Before we move to
Mr. Asiedu, let me a very quick one.
Okay.
Very quick one. I think one of the unfortunate things that is happening in our part of the world is that there is no link. There's no particular link between the department, the faculties, and then the industries. That is one of the major things that is missing in the education system. Look, where I did my first degree, for example, in the whole year, the first year, I spent I think 1 month in the industry, and especially in my third, fourth, and fifth year, I spent half the year, 6 months. My third year I spent 6 months, my fourth year I spent 6 months, and my last year I spent 6 months in the industries.
Wow.
Where you only be given access to like 2 weeks, 1 month maximum. If you are fortunate, you may have access to about 1 month and about 2 weeks or 2 months, which is woefully inadequate. Woefully inadequate. I will later talk about the access to technology as part of our solutions to our education system.
All right, but yes, I think that we will get there. I think with our next question we will get there. But viewers, you are listening to Jafric Radio and you are listening to Africa Today. Today we have decided to talk about the educational system in Africa. We have Mr. Toama, who is from Cote d'Ivoire, who is a PhD candidate, and we have Dr. Kweku Asante, who is also interested in climate change and global environmental science research. And so we are looking at the facts and we are looking at what is available. We have spoken about the accessibility. We've spoken about the quality, and then we have also touched on the relevance. We have talked about the differences that exist between the educational system outside Africa and those local. We are actually learning a lot. But before that, you have to notice that Africa Today is sponsored by Bayside Modeling Agency. And Africa Today, Jafric Radio is doing a promotion for all business ventures. Hista Clothes is into hip-hop clothes and located at Ueno and Okachi. Yes, so the location is Ueno and Okachimachi. You can call Hista Clothing on 090-8516-5664. I take it again, 090-8516-5664. Call Hip Hop Clothes and you will be okay with all your clothing. Yes, and Joe's Clothing is also calling. Joe's Clothing deals with import wares and accessories. Joe's Clothing is also at Ueno and Okachimachi. You can reach Joe's Clothing on 03-6806-0554. Let me take it again, 03-6806-0554 or 080-4672-8542. Joe's Clothing is calling. Call Joe's Clothing and you will be met on all your needs. Mr. Toama, let me come to you as the discussion is ongoing. Viewers can come in, comment at the comment section, or even call us and add their comments. Let's look at this. We have looked at the structure of our educational system. Now, we cannot just talk like that. Dr. Kweku Asiedu was giving us some things that we can do to improve our educational system to meet the standards and the relevance. In your own view, what do you think that we should do to our educational system? We cannot just talk, we want solutions. So what do you think we should do to meet the employment needs on the continent? Because there are a lot of things that we have to achieve as a continent. And we will need human capacity. We will need human resource. And the human resource will be developed by our educational system. What, in your view, do you think we should add or do to our educational system to meet the standard of relevance? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, a very relevant question. The first thing to do is actually not really into education, but it's connected to education. It's the vision. Where are we going to? I'll give you a simple example from Korea. You know, South Korea has no natural resources. So in the 1960s, they decided to invest into education because it's the only thing they could have. So they needed a lot of engineers because they wanted to develop heavy industries, they wanted to develop technology and these kind of things. So they had to train the engineers, and that's what they did. So in African countries, because countries are different and each country has its own features. So for a particular country, where are we heading to? For example, if Ghana or Cote d'Ivoire, because they are producers of cocoa and exporters of cocoa, if they want to develop a particular industry, like transforming the cocoa before they export it, they'll need engineers for that, right? If a particular country wants to invest in heavy industries, they'll need to train the people in that field, right? So the first thing to know is, where are we heading to? Because if we don't know, we'll be sending our young people to learn law. We will be sending our people into social sciences, and then they graduate and there's no jobs for them because what they learned is not actually needed in the on the market. So the first thing is that the leaders have to define what are the priorities and what is the vision. Then once we know this, then we will direct the educational system toward these goals, right? So this is the first thing, and I think that's the most important.
Okay. Thank you very much. You have been listening to Jafric Radio and Africa Today.
Yeah, I think there's a second thing that we could add. I said it, that was one of the reasons why we couldn't do things properly in Africa. We have to invest into education. Yeah, we have to invest into education. Sometimes we have the capacity, we have the knowledge. The lecturers are well trained, but they don't have the infrastructure they need. We don't have the infrastructure they need. So our leaders have to invest. They have to know that education is important, and they have to invest into education so that the same materials we find in advanced countries, the same laboratories that we find in advanced countries, we can also find them in Africa, so that our students don't have to move or to travel to these countries to find what they need to learn.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of people want to travel. Dr. Kweku was saying that after his first degree, he said, no, I'm not having my master's or PhD here in Ghana. I am moving away from Africa. And so that has been the issue. People actually go to church to pray so that they will have the opportunity to go outside Africa to study, because they know that is where they will receive better education. But Dr. Kweku, talking about how to structure our educational system so that we will meet the employment needs of the continent, I want you to talk specifically about incorporating technology in our educational system so that we will meet that standard of relevance on the continent.
Well, thank you very much. Let me start from where my brother left. He was talking about the issue of cocoa. all hope is not lost. When I look at the cocoa industry, I weep because my father was a cocoa farmer, and I am a cocoa farmer myself. My mom was a cocoa farmer. So, but when I look at education, the cocoa sector, I weep. That is one of actually my motivations into doing the PhD program in global environmental sciences, where I specifically specialize in climate smart agriculture.
Climate smart.
Smart agriculture, that's right, climate smart agriculture. So I'm now into climate smart cocoa because that is my area, one of my area of specialization. Now I have a problem with the way technology has been applied, especially in the agriculture sector. If you look at the adoption rate of all technologies in the agriculture sector, it's very low. Unfortunately, I do not have the figures here. I would have given it to you. I try to compare it with the adoption rate of technology in the agriculture sector in Asia during the Green Revolution time. In the Green Revolution in Asia, that took place in Asia and some parts of Latin America. Unfortunately, we failed as a continent to take advantage of the Green Revolution. That was when all the technologies in agriculture was implemented. It was disseminated, especially in Asia. It was disseminated by Japan to countries like China, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and so forth. Before that adoption of those technologies, the government had already prepared the ground, so it was very easy for them to adapt those technologies. Now, where am I heading to with all what I'm trying to say? How do I link it with the education system? It is expected that as a son of a cocoa farmer, I graduate from a university, come up with all the knowledge I've acquired in the university, and use a technology or apply or invent a technology to help my parents in the cocoa sector. But that is not so. Though I'm not an engineer, so I'm not expected to innovate those technologies and so forth. But even though I'm not an engineer, I should be able to think beyond the box and say that my father uses cutlasses to crack the cocoa pod, and it took him, to extract the cocoa beans from the cocoa pod, and it took him some minutes, if not a minute, or let's say 30 seconds. Is there any way, as an engineer, I'll be able to innovate an equipment that will be able to crush the cocoa pod in about 2 or 3 seconds, and at the same time take the cocoa beans from the cocoa pod, which will lessen all the effort that my parents will have to use to do this, because it takes them a certain number of days in order to get the cocoa beans out of the cocoa pod. What am I trying to say here? Our education system should be structured in such a way that even those who receive the least education should be able to come out with, if not the innovation, should be able to come out with the idea and link up with those who have the innovative capacities, like the engineers. I've recently visited a university and I was so sad. I read some of the theses that have been written by graduate innovative ideas, and all of them have been shelved. I was so sad. I visited one of the CSIR research institute, that's the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, very close to me. And I went and I saw innovative ideas. All of them have been shelved. Why? Because of funds. So, going forward, I want to suggest that if we really want to make our education relevant to our times, we need a new educational models. Investing in test scores and achievement is no longer a useful way to focus on education.
No.
A
Not at
new
all.
educational model should combine the traditional content. This is where my problem has always been. Integrating the African traditional knowledge into our education system has been one of the biggest failures. We always want to wait for the Bretton Woods institution to come and propose to us what to do in our local area, when our local and indigenous knowledge can do better than what they are bringing us. So students should practice teamwork, leadership, and more important, this is very important, critical thinking. Critical thinking. They should also gain exposure to entrepreneurship projects, as I've already indicated, and exploit market opportunities. How many of us are able to exploit market opportunities? All of us want to get into a formal employment, either in the government sector. Nobody wants to exploit. They are so, you see, where there are problems, where the problems exist, it means there is also that innovative opportunity. That is where the money is. If we are not able to do this, then I bet you, my brother, where are we getting to? So critical thinking is very important. And moreover, computer-assisted learning will inevitably improve our education system. My brother, I don't know if you've been to the
This is Jafric Radio
or in other part of the country. I mean, I'm not talking about the urban centers or the cities. I'm talking about the rural areas. Some of them had never seen a computer before, and yet they are supposed to write an exam.
That's for poor.
A subject called ICT. Unfortunately, that is the situation now. That is the situation now. So I want to believe, and I want to emphatically stress on the point that was raised by my brother, that we need to invest heavily in education.
Exactly. We need to.
Especially technology. Technology. So I all right, let me land.
Yes. Thank you so much, because I mean,
the aspect of technology, because that is where I was coming to. That's very, very important to me.
Yeah, because we need to invest heavily. But the question is, are our politicians, because I wanted to ask this question about our time, are our politicians, who are the major stakeholders in our educational system? They take the educational policy, they can change it at any point in time. Have they done enough? What is the amount given to the lecturer on research grants? For research grant, just research. How do we treat our teachers? I have a lot of questions here. By the time, how is the teacher, the general welfare of a teacher in Ghana? What is it? I mean, if you come to Japan, and always we cannot compare an advanced country to a developing country. But I mean, you should look at how they treat their teachers. And if you're a teacher, you are not poor. But in Africa, if you're a teacher, it looks like you have been sentenced to death sentence, because there is no way you can. There is no child that wants to be a teacher. But these are the people developing our children, developing our students. In fact, it has been even noticed that a lot of times, when people do not get access to the medical schools, the business schools, the economic schools, and the big schools, then they say, okay, let me go and pick teacher training form. I don't know whether it's the same in Côte d'Ivoire, but maybe because of our time, let me give you the opportunity I'll give you the opportunity to say your final words, and especially hit on what we should do and what we should expect. But before that, Africa Palace Shop is calling. Africa Palace Shop, which deals in Africa food, stars and provisions. It's located at Soko and Saitama. You can call on 080-3532-3346. You just ask for Sister Gloria, and you will be at Africa Palace Shop. The number is 080-3532-3346, and you will be at Africa Palace Shop. She can provide you with all African foodstuff and provisions. Then we would, because of our time, we would deal with the part 2 of this, because I can see that Mr. Toama and Dr. Kweku are well versed in this topic, and we cannot just leave it like that. We have to dig deep into this issue of education, where we tackle the technology issues. Okay, so we would what we would do is that I will take your final words. Maybe let me start from Dr. Kweku Asante. Dr. Kweku Edu, I'll take your final words, and then I'll move to Mr. Toama, and then we'll end it for today. Doc, if you are there, let us hear you.
Thank you very much, my brother. I'm very grateful. Though I do not, and I believe my other colleague also will agree with me, that we do not possess, the ability to be called experts in the education sector. But I think because of what we've gone through in the previous years and in the past years, we'll be able. And then, of course,
Doc, as for this one, I will not let you end, because in Ghana, even the Minister of Education, sometimes Minister of Fisheries, doesn't know anything about fisheries. I mean, I'm talking about Howard Kumsen, who is the Minister of Fisheries. She doesn't know anything about fisheries. So sometimes you guys have developed yourself. So we listen to what you say and we will use it. I believe our leaders will use it.
This is Jafric Radio.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, thank you. So I want to believe that when we are able to invest in education, let's put that aside. Let me go straight into research grants. Formerly, all university lecturers were, had access to some research journal. I think it was cancelled in Ghana and was replaced with a research fund, where you have to go and apply and get some research money for it. I think it was later cancelled, and I don't know what is going on currently. But I want to say that there should be a national pool of funds purposely dedicated for research. One of the reasons why I had to align myself with a research institute in Ghana first before going into lecturing was the fact that some of these research institutes get more research grants than
the universities. Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you look at the number of people who are in the research institute, they are not many as that of the lecturers in the universities, and yet those in the universities do access to most of these research grants. That is one aspect. Okay. Now, if we want to use computer, I want to believe that all the computers should have an age-appropriate learning software. Age-appropriate learning software. How many of our university students even have, for example, in my field, where we use the geographic information system, what we call the GIS, how many of them even have access to because they are very expensive. When you go to my lab, there is none. So where do you expect these students to get this age-appropriate learning software to learn, for example, the GIS?
Yeah.
Secondly, I believe we need a technically educated staff who will know how to maintain these PCs and this equipment and then this software. We don't have to rely on people who are beyond the borders of Ghana, because we do have men who are technically competent. Just that we have to broaden, their horizons, so that they'll be able to do what is expected. We have to give them the opportunity so they'll be able to do what is expected of them. Resource them.
Doc,
Very important.
Doc, let me say that as for this one, let me break the protocol. And I've not sought permission from my executive director, but I want you to join us in our next meeting, because we will be talking about the same thing, but part 2 of it. I think that will be on the 27th of June. Our next meeting will be on there. So please put it on your dial, so that when it gets there, we will call you again, and then we'll have this discussion, because I see that you are full of knowledge into this aspect, though you see yourself as a climate environmentalist, I see you as an educational expert. Anyway, before we close, Mr. Toama, what would be your last words towards the educational policy and system?
Okay. My last word will be that the leaders of African countries should understand and should know that education must be the top priority, because the future of our countries relies on education. How do we expect to build all this infrastructure if we don't have well-trained engineers? How do we expect to expand our economies if we don't have well-trained economists, world-class economists? So we have a lot to do, and for that, the leaders have to understand that education must be a top priority. Once they understand that, I'm sure they will invest into education.
Wow. Thank you very much. I mean, you have made very amazing point, revealing point that I believe that our leaders will listen and heed to this. Let me also add this before we close. I have been in Japan for a few years and I have met different kinds of professors. One thing I have noticed is that almost all, I don't know whether it's only the professors I have met, but almost all the professors are humble and ready to learn from even the students. But in Ghana and in Africa, immediately someone sees himself as a doctor, as a professor, as a minister, as a policymaker, he becomes automatically big and wants to be served. Our professor can just tell us that, I'm sorry, I don't know this, so I will go and check and come and tell you. And even if you also learn it, come and tell me. That is someone who is willing to move forward, willing to develop. And so if our leaders do not come down from the clouds, from the sky where they are, and come down to the level of the people to learn and unlearn, then we will remain where we are. And that is part of the educational policy, educational system. Come down from where you are, whether a doctor, whether a professor. Come down. You are not the embodiment of knowledge. People will advise you, and you also advise people. And that is how we can build this nation and move forward. I believe that they are watching us. As Asante Ezekiel is watching us, Takakazu is watching us, Nana Akuya is watching us, Raphael Fee is watching us, Abna Poma is watching us, Thomas Ej is also watching us. Asante Ezekiel said that, Toama, you also nailed it. Keep going. Frederick Kweku Owusu is also watching us. We thank you all for watching. I believe that you have also received very salient points that if you are in the helms of affairs, you will be able to also contribute and then give what it takes for our educational system to be actually a better one. Odosu Royal Hotel is calling. Odosu Royal Hotel is calling. You can locate them at Paumu Akosomo. Pomu Akosomo, sorry. Pomu Akosomo. And you can rate them on 0242 980453 or 020 8137 933. Please join us on the 27th of June for our next meeting. Africa Today is the last Sunday of every month.
This is Jafric
Please join
Radio.
us and also go to Jafric Radio on all social media platforms and subscribe to us. Jafric Radio, we are simply the best, and we bring you the best issues to develop Africa and the world. Thank you very much, and see you on the 27th of next month. Bye-bye.
Not by peace, O God of my salvation, because the mouth of the wicked and the sea is open.
Radio.